Welcome back to the class, everyone. Today we are going to be looking at zetas once again. And now we've already covered the best of the best. We've touched on Vader's Merciless Massacre, as well as Cat's stupid high stat game. But what I want to do today is take a look at some of the hidden gems, the most underrated zetas that are actually having a pretty big impact on not only their characters, but their teams as well. So we do have this list of 10 here. This is not really meant to be a exclusive list, so do tell me in the comments whatever zeta you've had out there that everyone trash talks all the time. It's actually saved your butt in a few matches. But getting right on into it, I want to talk about Bo-Katan's. So when Bo-Katan first came out, not only was her zeta kind of trash talked, but as well as her character was, because she was missing an essential piece to the Mandalorian team, and that was Maul. And he came in and just added to this team in a perfect way. So her zeta is on her unique, and it gives 8% protection recovery whenever a Mandalorian ally attacks at a turn. Mandalorian attack at a turn wasn't necessarily unheard of before Maul, but when he came in, his leadership zeta actually, I don't even think it's a zeta, but his leadership allows every single Mandalorian to attack at a turn every single time he goes, which is going to happen a ton because he gains so many bonus turns. But one of the hidden aspects of this isn't just recovery. Yes, you are gaining a ton of protection back, but when you start to look into Maul's really complicated lead, when your character's survivability starts to shift around because they're healing, you will also have Maul's taunt from his leadership also dance around, and that taunt is not only going to give 100% defense to the character at that time, but it's also going to cleanse them. To give you an idea what this is going to do, if let's say your entire team was dazed except Maul, and then one of them is immediately going to cleanse because they were the healthiest, then when that character assists, they'll start to regain protection, and all your stats on your entire team are going to kind of shift, and sometimes the taunt will switch to another character who will then be cleansed, and by the time Maul's done doing his 5-shot, everybody's cleansed out of it because of the way the health and the protection are moving around, and the taunt is shifting because it always goes to the healthiest character at that time. So there's a lot of hidden value in this. I've actually seen someone screw up a C run specifically because they didn't have the zeta. Dooku got a stun off on someone, the one who was taunting. The protection on that character dipped down, and then when they started to use all the assists, they didn't have that character. I think it was Django at the time, wasn't assisting because they weren't getting the taunt back because they weren't recovering protection. So really long-winded way to say Bo-Katan zeta, not so bad. Next up is going to be Nihilus. Now this one is so hard to see how good it is. We're going to be talking about the unique, not the leadership, because at face value, this just looks like garbage. At the start of each enemy turn, Nihilus inflicts heal down on them for 2 turns. Heal down, or health down, not a good debuff. In fact, it might be the worst debuff out there, probably right next to accuracy down or something of the sort. So you immediately look at this and be like, all right, zeta, no, I don't, that's obviously one of the skippable ones. The issue is, once you start to pay attention to not only how Nihilus works, but the rest of the Sith that he's usually paired with, you kind of just want the entire enemy team to be debuffed with whatever the entire match. When we look at Drain Force goes up to 100% to be able to increase the enemy cooldowns when they have a debuff on them. Doesn't matter really which one or which debuff it is, they just have to have one. And you start to look at the leaderships that he can go under, like Trey or Emperor Palpatine. He's going to be able to make all enemies essentially debuffed at all times, so that Sith can recover 10% health whenever they hit really anyone, even on a counter with Dooku or something like that. And I even had this once, this is a really rare occasion, but even under Emperor Palpatine, it's nice because if the other team is faster and they start taking multiple turns and kind of get their turn meter train going, what's going to happen is, not only is this going to be applied to the enemy team, but it's going to start to come off, and when that debuff is dispelled or removed or whatever, it starts to generate turn meter for the entire Emperor Palpatine team. So again, a little bit of a hidden gem, because at face value, quite honestly, it looks super bad. Next up is going to be Emperor Palpatine, not his leadership. That is pretty obviously very good. I want to talk a little bit about his Crackling Doom. So when this first came out, again, it was kind of underwhelming. Palpatine, back then, he would typically go first, and that was the end of it. Vader would get to do his whole debuff thing, Cole, get some more debuffs, get 5 stuns off, and the enemy team just never takes a turn. That's not really how it's happening anymore. And not only that, there's a crucial moment, and probably the first 30 seconds versus a Rey team, that if she does not get debuffed, she gets it cleansed because JTR calls her to assist or something like that, and she gets a nice whirlwind off an Emperor Palpatine. If he doesn't have enough survivability, either through both his modding as well as this Crackling Doom Zeta right here, and he just eats it, you can't have that happen in the beginning of the battle. Sometimes it actually is a little bit nicer later on so that Ben Solo doesn't keep getting revived, but in the very beginning he needs to be able to survive a little bit so that you have all the characters that you have when you have to tank the first not the first world, but the first ultimate from Rey when she comes in doing all that damage. And this has actually aged rather well because Palpatine didn't get to use his basic a ton before. He uses it so much now because whenever Mara is going, she's calling him in to assist. He's getting to apply shock. He's making his max protection even larger and larger and larger. So Emperor Palpatine is a great one for his unique. Next up is going to be Jyn. And this one I saw really low on the amount of people who kind of have her worked up to be able to go with Admiral Raddus. If you have Admiral Raddus for profundity and you put the Omicron on, Jyn's is not necessarily a must-have, but it makes a lot of sense to be able to go together. So if you look at it, it's also a very simple Zeta. She is immune to buff, or she's immune to stun, and her entire team is immune to buff immunity. The reason why this ends up becoming important, not just because, yay, we don't get buff immunity, but when you look at Admiral Raddus's leadership Omicron, one of the big parts of it is whenever Spark of the Rebellion is dispelled, they gain critical chance up, critical damage up, defense up, health up, offense up, potency up, and protection up for 2 turns. So you get this slew of buffs. The issue is, if the enemy has already consistently landed buff immunity across all your characters, they just dispel it and you don't get anything in return because they keep applying buff immunity, and then you have no buffs in this whole, not the whole Omicron, but a big chunk of the Omicron really didn't do you any good. Whereas if you get to keep all those buffs if you already have the Jyn Omicron, because they never even got to apply buff immunity to you in the first place. So very nice there. The next one, this one I think is the one that most people have figured out, but maybe if you're working on Mon Mothma right now, it doesn't seem all that appealing. Basically, POW gains 5% turn meter whenever a rebel ally uses a basic ability. Again, when POW first came out, he was quite garbage, like just was not doing anything at all. However, they made a lifter character, I guess, for his team that calls every single rebel ally in to assist every single turn. Meaning he's not only going to be getting more turn meter, but he's going to be able to keep calling everyone else to go. So once you get like the perfect turn meter comp with Hoth, Rebel Scout, and everything like that, you can't quite make 100% loop, but you can get pretty darn close, especially if you get Biston in there and Kara, who are also able to remove turn meter on top of that. It makes the team quite nasty to deal with. Oh, I hate this. Okay, so this one is very new, a pain in the butt to me, and that is EMBO under Jabba. His, again, very simple Omicron that he has on his unique ability here, not really going to be talking about Zeta, is just saying that he can't be critically hit. And I think what this was trying to do was he was trying to make bounty hunters a little bit more resistant to JTR way back in the day when EMBO first came out. That being said, this is so annoying when you're using SLKR versus Jabba, because number one, you can't kill EMBO until a significant point into the fight because you can't crit him, and that's where a lot of SLKR's damage is. But this also slows down the ultimate, because not only can you not hit him to do the damage, but SLKR's ultimate is charged, I think, over double when he gets crit. So whenever he's using his AoE, or Lobster is using his AoE, or someone else just comes in to assist and tries to hit him, you can't land those crits, and it slows SLKR down to the point where he's getting less ultimates, and then you don't. And then even if you kill Boosh, which is great if you kill Boosh, but even if you kill Boosh, I've had sometimes where EMBO and Lando just kick my SLKR's butt because I don't have enough survivability to be able to take what they're dishing out. So that one's very annoying. If you're going to use them at Jabba, of course, that one kind of has to go on. Next up is going to be Chiari Monday. And I want to say this for everyone out there who currently has a Gear 7 4-star Chiari Monday, who's like, this character is useless because I can't gear him, and he's 4 stars and I'm doing rote, so he'll never really be finished, and I guess you probably should be spending your currency on him anyways, but that's kind of besides the point. I want to challenge you guys a little bit here, because his Zeta, not only does his ability just very good, his Jedi Council ability, but the Zeta itself adds 30 speed, which at face value actually looks pretty darn good after, you know, you kind of realize it has to be for Galactic Republic and Jedi at the same time. However, under Qui-Gon Jinn, this is going to do something a little bit more, because if you have his Omicron in GAC, he is taking the speed times 30 and turning it into offense. Means, you know, you do the quick math there, your entire team is getting 900 flat offense on top of everything else that they're already getting. John Anakin with his bonus damage that he's getting from his unique, as well as mods or datacrons or whatever else is going on there. Just one other thing to really sting to make sure the Bad Batch go down in one fell swoop, because you have all these things consistently stacking on top of each other. This one is a little bit more niche. Again, I'm seeing more value for this one now than I am before, and that is with armor. And armor has become more crucial now for me, and it's actually on her special. I thought, for whatever reason, I always thought it was on her unique, where she is going to be granting on the third stack 100% counter chance. This ends up making a pretty big difference, particularly with SLKR versus Jabba, that, again, we've kind of already talked about. Sometimes for him to be able to get enough ultimate charge to be able to keep getting ultimates so he can increase his mastery and ultimately just take down the team. This is really nice. Not only does he actually get to do damage by countering them with that, he's also going to be charging his ultimate, because his basic, not only does it hit twice, but both of those hits can counter, and you can essentially end up charging up 10% every single time he does that, because it's 5% per critical hit, and then you get to hit twice. So very nice addition on armor. This is also just nice in general for C or for even a Mandalorian team. It's fun to watch Candris hit someone back and then gain turn meter because he was hitting a debuffed character. Yeah, it's overall just pretty good. Next one is going to be Grief, and Grief does have one that is very obviously good. Like, there's absolutely no argument here. Dispel all debuffs on all bounty hunters. Bounty hunters don't really have a cleanser, at least the normal team doesn't, so that one's imperative. This one here is still very good, because you have to recognize what it's doing here. When this ability, regardless of the Zeta or not, when it defeats the enemy, all bounty hunter allies gain offense, defense pen, critical damage up, and critical chance up all at the same time, so giving them a whole bunch of more damage, really on all respects, to be able to take out your enemies. If you don't get the kill, if you get down to in the health on someone and then you kill them later, that's great, the enemy died, but now you miss out on all of these buffs. And that's really what that 20% damage is giving you there with the Zeta, is it's just going to, maybe not ensure, but it's going to increase your chances, obviously, that that opponent actually dies, and then you get to bring in all of these buffs to guarantee that, you know, Fennec or Boba or whoever is going to continue to take down the entire enemy team. So depending on the situation, it can be a lifesaver if you really need those buffs to get things going. And the next one, this one's just, it's a pretty cheap trick, but I kind of like it. And this one, again, has aged well over time, and that is, while IG-88 is active, target-locked enemies can't recover health or protection. And when this first came out, this was like kind of dumb, because even if you look at the character himself on his basic, he inflicts healing immunity on his basic for 2 turns. So why in the world, like, is this Zeta important ultimately? I guess it is really nice, because then the rest of your team can apply target lock to and it counts as healing immunity. But CG, as of recently, and they're probably going to continue to do this, keep giving these characters, under certain circumstances, immunity to healing immunity, which is very annoying when you're trying to take them down, especially because they're always like these super chunky characters that are hard to take down, like Malgus and Lord Vader, that are just flat out immune to it. Well, target lock comes in there, and it's not even like shock or doubt that only stops protection or health. It stops both. So it's totally healing immunity with like under a trench coat or something like that. Like, that's all it is, and it works. And you're able to take those characters down, especially because IG-88 not only can be used with a bounty hunter team, but it doesn't really pair all that terribly with Aphra. And then you get to come in there with all that damage. You have the armor shred, you have the damage from BT1, you have the cooldown increase, and now you have a pretty universal healing immunity, because you can actually apply it to characters that don't want you to in the first place. So that is going to be it for today. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know in the comments if there's another Zeta that a lot of people like to talk trash on that has saved you before. But until the next time, stay awesome.